Coming up on Carolina Week, in the wake of the Me Too movement, North Carolina courts are calling for a new openness from the university.
I mean, whether I like it or not, I've given him pretty much my entire digital life.
How much information are you disclosing online? We'll tell you how to protect yourself.
A tradition like no other, soon-to-be grads topping off their time at Carolina.
All this and so much more, Carolina Week
starts right now.
From the UNC School of Media and Journalism, connecting Carolina's campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
The university had said no, but now a court says yes. Good afternoon, I'm Anne-Marie Haggerty.
And I'm Donnie Holloway. UNC had refused to release sexual assault records, calling them educational records, but the courts disagreed. UNC will now have to release the names of any students or employees found responsible for rape, sexual assault, or related offenses. The North Carolina Court of Appeals ruled those names not educational records and don't apply to the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. UNC has argued that this decision will interfere with the Title IX and keep survivors and witnesses from coming forward. But with recent high-profile assault cases like those involving Alan Artis and Jerick Felton, the court felt these crimes should not be shielded from the public. The Daily Tar Heel and several other local media organizations had filed suit against the university in 2016 for access to the records.
North Carolina made national news this year when the question of unfair voting districts made it all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, with the 2018 congressional elections coming up, some state residents are asking how these districts might affect results. Carolina Week's Morgan Newell is live from Chapel of the Cross Church to tell us more. Morgan?
Anne-Marie, starting tomorrow, you can come to Chapel of the Cross to vote for your state representatives in the House and the Senate. North Carolina has 13 voting districts. 10 of them are Republican, but at least 4 of them have been heavily criticized for being poorly drawn. This is District 12. The district has been called a salamander for its weird shape. And according to CNN, it is the worst drawn district in North Carolina. And it's only one of the several states that have districts drawn like this. Another word for it, gerrymandering.
Even though politicians say they hate it, gerrymandering has been used for over 200 years.
Gerrymandering is the act of drawing districts so they advantage one party over the other. Currently, the GOP is benefiting from the map that North Carolina has. The state legislature decides how to draw the districts, and it's mostly made of Republicans. But the North Carolina Public Interest Research Group's chair, Kate Craig, is not letting this stop her from doing what she thinks is right.
People have tried to make it harder to vote in our state, and we definitely want to make sure it's easy and fair for everyone. And so part of that is we don't think that gerrymandering should be a thing in our state.
North Carolina was supposed to have its districts redrawn in early January 2018. But this was stopped short by the U.S. Supreme Court after they struck down an order by a lower court shortly after the ruling was handed down. And the map is not going to be done before the primary elections and possibly the general elections.
It's still going on, and we're still working through it and showing them how important it is that they get out and vote and use voting as a means to get this changed.
Since she became the chair of NC-PIRG, she says she's been focused on her goal, but she still feels like a huge problem.
I think that it's really upsetting to see that it's been shown like these districts are not okay and you need to redo them, and that's still not happening.
There is no telling when the Supreme Court will let North Carolina redraw its districts. Regardless, voting starts tomorrow in Orange County and will continue until May 5th. Anne-Marie?
All right, Morgan will be sure and get out and vote starting tomorrow. That's Morgan Newell live from Chapel of the Cross. Thanks, Morgan.
Fox News commentator Tucker Carlson spoke to a full house at UNC on Thursday. As we told you in last week's show, his visit wasn't without controversy. Many in the Carolina community saying Tucker isn't a true journalist. Joining us now is Peyton Walker, and you were actually at the Tucker Carlson speech and got a chance to interview him. What was that experience like?
Yeah, well, it was so exciting, and his talk was definitely very interesting. He touched on a number of different issues like immigration policy, freedom of speech, sexual harassment in the workplace, and just a number of different different issues. But right before he went on stage, I was actually able to sit down with him and asked what he had to say to students who claim he's not a journalist. Let's take a listen.
I've done this job for 27 years. I don't know if I'm a journalist or not. I'm not that interested in learning whether I am or not. I have a TV show. I ask simple questions. I try to remain skeptical and honest. And that's kind of the full extent of my job. Is that journalism? I don't know. I'll let the Tar Heels of UNC Journalism School decide.
So as you can see there, he's clearly not too bothered by those claims.
You could see. Thanks so much, Peyton Walker, for that insight.
Mark Zuckerberg's hearing before Congress served as a wake-up call for many Americans who are now wondering how far Facebook reaches into your private information. Turns out if you have an Android, you might be in double trouble. Reporter Emily Wakeman has that story.
Johnny Rubin, like most people, spends a lot of time on Facebook. He knows Facebook gathers data on his likes, comments, and activity.
You're kind of at their mercy because you have, whether I like it or not, I've given them pretty much my entire digital life.
But Facebook gathers even more personal data than Rubin realizes.
Okay, now this is a problem.
Rubin owns an Android phone, which means Facebook collects a log of his calls and text messages. This access began when he shared his contacts with the Facebook Messenger app.
Make sure you're reading through all the terms and conditions, all the fine print that all those companies like to share, and they like to edit along the way.
Many Android users, like Rubin, unknowingly share this data.
So whatever I signed is in there, but I didn't knowingly say to Facebook, you can use my messages and text and whatnot for your own purpose.
If you're on Facebook, you can find and view your data history by clicking on Settings, General, and download a copy of your Facebook data. Once the download is complete, you will see a complete list of your data. And if you're an Android user, you might see a complete list of your call and text history.
Facebook's data collection on Androids adds to the privacy concerns of many users since the Cambridge Analytica controversy began in March, fueling a delete Facebook movement on social media.
I was kind of angry just because, they had no right to it.
But despite his anger, Rubin says he won't be deleting his Facebook. And he isn't alone. A USA Today survey finds that 84% of Facebook users say they are worried about privacy, but 48% say they won't be cutting back on Facebook.
People think that, oh, I have nothing to hide, so it's fine with me. It's a trade-off I'm worth making. But I don't think we've seen the end results yet.
Apple restricts more information, such as text and call logs, than Androids to third parties. But Rubin sticks with his Facebook and Android, at least until his contract is up in a year. In Chapel Hill, Emily Wakeman, Carolina Week.
Congress has not yet said if or when it will regulate the social media network.
The UNC system has a new student body president. Betty Lena Jarumba, a junior at NC Central University, has been elected president of the UNC Association of Student Governments. She's the first African-American student to hold the title. At Central, Jarumba is a member of student government and president of the university's Association of Students for a Better Africa. She's also served as NCCU's first class year president in 2015.
Have you ever thought of homeschooling as its own school district? In North Carolina, it may be as numbers of homeschoolers continue to rise. Reporter Lydia Davis takes a look.
Meet Adeline Simpson. Her school day isn't like most. Between math and reading, she can tune and play her harp. Her mother, Linda Simpson, homeschools all three of her children, and the flexible curriculum allows her to make music a priority. Simpson says her oldest son, Hayden, learned differently from a young age. She worried about sending him to public school, where teachers would expect him to read in kindergarten, rather than follow his natural talents.
Because I knew that this child is extremely creative. He figures out how things work in ways that boggle my mind.
Although Simpson remains positive toward public schools, she decided to pull her children out of the Wake County public school system in 2013. Hayden was the driving force.
In fourth grade, what was expected of him developmentally was in such disharmony with his individual developmental path that it started to create some mental health challenges for him.
Simpson might not be the only parent feeling this way in North Carolina. The number of students enrolled in district-run public schools has decreased by more than 7,000 since 2015, while the number of homeschools has increased by more than 6,000. Professor of Educational Measurement and Evaluation at UNC's School of Education, Gregory Cizik, says he's worked with homeschool families and has seen their concerns with public schools.
They often believe that their student, and it's true, most of us have really kind of unique strengths and weaknesses, and larger systems like public schools cannot tailor instruction to every kid's strengths and weakness.
Second grade teacher at Claxton Elementary in Asheville City Schools Teacher of the Year, Becca Wertheim, says although there are certain standards and benchmarks for her classroom, she tries to individualize the learning process as best she can.
They don't all learn in the same way, they never will, but when teachers are given that encouragement and that freedom, then it completely changes the classroom environment.
And that's exactly what she did. Wertheim incorporates mindfulness into her curriculum. She does yoga and breathing exercises every day with the class to address the early signs of stress.
Kids are stressed out and they do need to have time to pause.
Simpson says public schools put her children into the wrong categories for their abilities, even though they had great educators. It's the system she has problems with.
Not everybody even has the option to bring their children home. How fortunate and blessed I am that I can offer this to my kids, but it's not easy.
In Chapel Hill, Lydia Davis, Carolina Week.
Last year, there were more homeschool students in our state than private school students.
Right now, we're in the peak of allergy season.
But there are some allergies that are threats all year round. We'll tell you more after the break. $15 million people in the United States suffer from food allergies, and 90% of those people suffer from peanut or nut allergies specifically.
Carolina Week reporter Brianna Nguyen brings us the story of a UNC sophomore who has nut allergies and how she's trying to help others like her.
Like everyone else on the UNC women's golf team, Roshni Sharma goes to practice, hits balls on the range, and only focuses on golf for 3 hours. But there's always one thing that creeps into her mind, the one thing that has always been on her mind since she was 2 years old, her peanut and nut allergy.
What happens is it causes my throat to swell up, my skin to swell, and basically it's a fatal reaction.
Life was not and is not easy for Sharma.
I used to have kids who would tell me in elementary school who basically put a peanut butter on my arm to see what would happen. It didn't end so well.
At age 15, Sharma decided she had to take initiative.
I started my own nonprofit and I started going door to door, just asking people for money, and I was like, hi, please give me money, which is ultimately what it was. And then over time, a little became a lot.
Once Sharma came to UNC, she saw an opportunity to work with one of the best research hospitals in the country. She teamed up with Dr. Edwin Kim, a professor of medicine at UNC, to see if there's something they can do to help people with peanut and nut allergies.
First of all, she was able to give a substantial sum, and for one individual to do that is pretty remarkable. But it really gives us the flexibility to say, okay, look, we know peanut is in a pretty good place now, but what about tree nuts? Or what about some of these other problems that are out there that people really, we have the questions and we think we know what we need to do about it, but we just not have the ability, the funding to be able to do that.
Sharma spoke at UNC Hospital's Pinwheels and Promises luncheon to spread the word about peanut and nut allergies and her research.
To see sort of someone at sort of Roshni's position and her age to do this is just remarkable.
After the event, the funding started to flow in. Sharma has raised $15,000 and the numbers keep climbing.
I guess I was just waiting for this cure to fall into my lap, and I was just hoping that eventually I wouldn't have to deal with the problem. But that wasn't happening, so I decided I wanted to do something.
Sharma continues battling her allergy until a cure is found. In Chapel Hill, I'm Brianna Nguyen, Carolina Week.
Sharma's nonprofit organization is called the American Research Foundation for Nut Allergies.
How about this weather, folks? Oh my gosh, yesterday I was bundled up and today it is actually hot outside.
I know, right? Let's go to our weather cam for a look outside. Check out this great weather, and is it here to stay, or will we have to keep those jackets close by? Our weather forecast is coming up next.
Thank you for staying with us today, and I'm your meteorologist Alex Commit with your Carolina Week weather and a couple things to expect. First off, take a look outside our studio here. It's a beautiful day in Chapel Hill. In the 80s, it's sunny, few clouds in the sky, so if you haven't yet, get out there and enjoy that. It was a bit chilly this morning, but it warmed up quickly, and it's so outside. The humidity's low, but the sun's out. It's great. So back in the 80s for today. We will cool down later a bit this week, and then for your weekend outlook, I have what to expect for that. No rain as of right now. There's a next chance of rain that moves in on Monday, but a few clouds built in. Otherwise, still looking pretty great, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Here's our satellite loop, and you can see that over the state, the clouds are clearing out quite a bit. A few high clouds passing from time to time, but our skies have really cleared out to let that sun warm the air as we got through today. You know, like I said before, a cool start in the 40s, but now we're in the 80s. It's great. Taking a look at the winds, there is a center of high pressure down here off the southeast, but what that's actually doing is the clockwise flow around that is bringing the winds up north out of the Gulf of Mexico, and that's bringing us warm, moist, tropical air. It's also allowing us to be warm. But what you'll notice is as we go into tomorrow, that shifts off a little bit, so we lose that northward flow, and another air mass moves in and will cool us down just a little bit, but not terribly. Today, 81 degrees, mostly sunny, winds southwest 5 to 10 miles per hour. It's a bit breezy outside, but overall nice. Tonight, we'll drop into the mid to low 60s. We'll keep those clear skies. The winds will stick around a little bit, but a great night. If you're going outside, a light wind jacket is probably, windbreaker is probably all you'll need. And then for tomorrow, here's the surface map, and you can see that next air mass is moving in from Canada. It's another high pressure, and that's what's associated with that cooler air. And this cold front is the border of that cold air mass. It'll be moving across our state tomorrow morning, and you'll notice a difference in the temperature a little bit tomorrow, but definitely as we get into Friday. So for your breakdown, 8 a.m., 63 degrees, sunny from start to finish though. We will have a few clouds stick around. By noon, we're up into the mid-70s, and then by 3, 63 degrees. And then here's just a look at our temperatures here. 80 degrees today, fantastic. You can see the entire southeast is pretty warm, but as we go into tomorrow, you can see that cold front there as it's moving across. You can see that transition from the green to the orange and yellows, these warmer colors here. And then Friday, a little bit cooler. We stay in the low 60s. Saturday the same, and then Sunday still in the 60s. We cool down just a little bit more on Monday, but that's because we have that rain chance moved in, so expect it to be pretty cloudy all day long. And then for your 5-day forecast here, we have sunny skies for the next 3 days. We will have a few clouds here and there, but mid to upper 60s for the rest of the week. We do take a quick visit to the 30s tomorrow night, but other than that, our lows are in the low to mid 40s, and our next chance of rain moves through on Monday.
All right, that's a look at our 5-day weather. Thanks so much, Alex.
Coming up in sports, the last time the Carolina NC State baseball teams met at the DBAP, the game went 18 innings.
This year's meeting in Durham was far less dramatic, but highlights are next.
Welcome to Carolina Week Sports. I'm Natalie Harden. Last night was a huge matchup of ranked teams as number 15 Carolina and number 4 NC State played in front of a packed crowd at the Durham Bulls Athletic Park. The Wolfpack displayed a full offensive prowess from the onset as catcher Patrick Bailey delivered a dinger for the Pack to give the guys in red an early 2-0 lead. The Heels would answer the run of their own by their mistakes in the infield cost them as infield error Zach Cahagan brought home 2 for the Pack. UNC attempted to close the gap late, pushing the score 5-3, but State would slam that door right in their faces with a 3-run dinger, giving the Pack an 8-3 win. Coach Mike Fox had a message for his players moving forward.
You know, you got to flush wins and losses pretty quickly in baseball. It's one game. We've got to get ready for Georgia Tech. That's the most important thing coming up. It's you got to have a short memory.
That won't be the last time Carolina State will meet on the baseball diamond. The Heels will travel to Raleigh for a 3-game set, April 27th through the 29th. The State was a common theme this week as the softball team looked for a series win in a rubber match, a 3-game set on Monday. Carolina started fast. Brittany Pickett says, "Bartender, Jack." That's a 3-run shot, got the Heels rolling in the second. A hit by Keani Ramsey gets into the gap. Coach Donna Papa is waving them around. That'll drive in 2. The Tar Heels seal the win the 6th inning as Pickett hits a single to drive Taylor White, and that's ball game. Heels mercy rule the pack 8-0 and take the series. With the release on the non-conference schedule on Monday, the men's basketball team now knows all of its opponents for next season. The UNC basketball tweeted out a picture of the non-conference schedule. Notable matchups include Gonzaga in the 2017 National Championship matchup and Kentucky in the CBS Sports Classic. The team will also take part in the Las Vegas Invitational Tournament with Michigan State, Texas, and UCLA.
All right, Natalie, and some news coming in about the basketball team.
That's right. We've got Cam Johnson coming back, ladies and gentlemen, and you know that is huge for our program.
Yeah.
Something we're really looking forward to, especially as Tar Heels.
We'll be watching.
Thanks so much, Natalie. Coming up on Carolina Week, people have been waiting all day to climb one of the university's most iconic landmarks.
We'll take you there live, step by step, for a senior year tradition. You could call it a rite of passage, something that's on every UNC senior's bucket list.
That's right. We're talking about the Bell Tower climb. It's one of the highlights of Senior Week here at Carolina. Joining us live is reporter Lex Juarez, who's been standing in line with students waiting to make that climb. Lex?
Seniors have been lined up to climb the bell tower since 9 o'clock this morning. The line closed off at 4 p.m. and the very last seniors in line just went up to make their climb. The General Alumni Association for UNC allows seniors to go inside and climb up the 172-foot bell tower as part of Senior Week. Here they can get a view of campus from up top and leave their mark on one of the most iconic Carolina landmarks. UNC senior Alex Nazich came straight from a night shift at the hospital to meet her friends at 7 a.m. this morning for the occasion.
I think it's definitely going to help remind me of the highs. Like, there's a lot of highs and lows in college, but I think everyone here showing their school spirit. We're just climbing up to sign our name, but we're leaving our mark on Carolina, and I think that's kind of how I'll see it.
Like Nazich, many seniors look forward to this event all year long, some waiting even 3 hours today for it. The UNC General Alumni Association, senior class marshals, and the senior campaign work hard all year long to ensure that events like this are successful when Senior Week rolls around. Now, for the rest of the week, seniors can look forward to the last lecture that will be tomorrow night at Polk Place and bar golf that will be happening on Friday. Back to you.
That's Lex Juarez live from the Bell Tower. Thanks, Lex. And Donnie, there are a lot of last for seniors this week, including last for us.
I know.
Sadly.
I know. And speaking of bucket list items, this was one of my bucket list items to anchor this program. So glad we got to share this experience together.
It was. This is actually our last broadcast for our Carolina experience.
Yeah,
so we've loved coming to you on Wednesday nights every other week.
We really have. That does it for this edition of Carolina Week. Thanks so much for watching.
Good night.